Hello and welcome to PXP Endurance. My name is Paul Plummer. I want to talk to you today about some basic movements, some basic foundational positions and activations that you should be doing with everything you do, whether it's in a strength class or whether it's in any activity that you're doing. The first thing I want you to do is stand up. And as you're standing up, I want you to look down at your feet. If this is your feet, if they're rolled out to the side or if one's a different position, line them up, get them parallel. The other thing is your hips, your feet should be right under your hips, not out wider than your hips. So get those feet inside. You'll know if in your right position if you look down and your legs are parallel. If your legs are out and they look like an A-frame going on, you need to pull those legs in a little closer, okay? So that they're parallel going up and down. Now once you're in that position, you may notice some tightness in your hips. One side might be a little tighter than the other. If that's the case, you know you've got some flexibility issues in your hips that you may need to focus on. As you look down now, I want you to think about trying to stand on 3 points on your foot, a tripod stance, if you will. So little toe, big toe, heel. So you can get equal pressure on both feet in all 3 of those spots, okay? Most of you to do that will have to lean forward. If your feet were rotated to the side, you might have to lean side to side. But find that position where you've got equal pressure on all 3 of those spots on both feet. When you've done that, now you have a broader base, you're more stable. That's the position you need to think about standing in. You need to think about your foot being in as you're doing any activity, whether you're running or getting ready to jump or whatever your sport or activity is. Maybe it's just standing there and going for a walk. You need to get all 3 of those points to make contact with the ground at a given time. Now, they may be in contact in a sequence if you're running, that sort of thing, but you want those points to really be solid where your big toe's not off the ground when your little toe's on the ground. You don't want your little toe off the ground when your big toe's on the ground. You want those to be level and flat in that spot. Now that you've found that position, your weight is centered over your foot. You won't be able to be balanced in that tripod stance if your weight isn't over your foot. If you're leaning backwards, the big toe and little toe are gonna pop off the ground, your toe's gonna pop off the ground, and you're standing on your heel. If you've got your foot that's arching up, your big toe's not down as much, so you'd shove that big toe down. So once you've found that position, we'll work our way up the chain, work our way up the body. We'll go into your pelvis. And so if you're standing in a mirror, you can put your hands on each side of your hip and make sure they're level. So right on the iliac crest, right on the top of it, just make sure they're level. If they're not, you may not be standing equally on both sides, or you may have something going on with your pelvis, some sort of an alignment issue. And we can talk about that as well. As we go now, from the side, if you've got any sort of big arch in your back, now all of us should have a little bit of arch in our lower back. It should have a nice curve through it. What we're gonna do is try to take our lower half of our pelvis and roll up toward our rib cage. As we do that, we are trying to flatten our back. We're not truly gonna have motion, but we want the ab muscles, the abdominals, to activate and go through that action. Now there are a couple ways for that to happen. You can actually squeeze your back pockets and get your pelvis to tilt, okay? That's not what we're talking about. I want everything on the back side to be relaxed, and you're just using the rope that goes down here and attaches to your pubic symphysis, lower half of your pelvis, and let it pull up, and when it pulls up, it rolls up the lower half of your pelvis toward your rib cage. Now I don't want you to have a big motion where you're getting here like Urkel, but I just want you to have that active, to have that pulling up where you've got a nice, comfortable posture in your lower back. And this is active, this is tight, this is engaged, okay? Another way to think about this is if somebody were walking by you and they were to tap you in the belly, if they come by and hit you in the belly, this should be engaged all the time so that when they touch you, they can feel those abs working, okay? If they're not working, their hand will go all the way through and it'll be all squishy and soft and that sort of thing. So you want some sort of activity going on right here in your lower abs, especially right around your belly button in that vicinity. Now if as you do this, you feel stuff happening on the front of your thigh, happening on the front of your hips, those are your hip flexors, they will also aid or add to that pelvic tilt. You want those to be relaxed, everything on the backside relaxed, and just isolating the abdominal muscle to work, okay? Once you've got that done, we'll keep going up. We're gonna look at your shoulder blades. Those shoulder blades, from our normal posture, we have a tendency to be rounded in here. Our head gets pushed out, our shoulder blades come forward. We wanna pull those back. So if our shoulder blades are sitting here, we wanna pull them back, we wanna set them down. So from the front, as I pull them back, I don't want them to go up top. I want them to go back and down, okay? From the side, I've got my rounded posture. As they go back and down, it aligns me a lot better. I get my chin and neck to go backwards, and I've just got a lot more open through here. That activity, that ability to pull that back is very crucial for what you're going to do with your arm motion. If you can get those to come back and down and hold, get those shoulder blades to be stable, all your power in your arm, just any motion that you're doing, is going to be higher. You're going to have a better performance, and you're going to reduce your risk of injury. Okay? A couple of things to do. You can simply be sitting in a chair and see if you can get those shoulder blades to work. Some of you are going to have really big motion. You're going to do this, it's going to go back and forth, so you're going to see your shoulders move quite a bit. Some of you are going to be doing it, and there's not a whole lot of motion happening, which means your shoulder blades aren't moving. So it's going to take some practice, and you're just going to sit there and take them back and down, working on that mobility, working on that strength, working on that power, okay? Then you're going to be able to start using these as you do other activities. So think about opening a door. I can reach out. I don't have to use my shoulder blades to open the door, but if I stabilize my shoulder blade and then move my arm, my shoulder doesn't have to work as hard because I've got more power because of that stability. You can reach for a glass out of the cabinet. I can keep this back. I'll show you from the side. If I reach out and I don't do this, I don't have as much power. Picking up a cup, I may not need that much power, but over time you'll get some issues going on if you're doing other performance stuff, like swimming and you're reaching out. You want that shoulder blade to be engaged as you're able to pull this down. So you reach up, shoulder blade comes up, it elevates. As you get down, now you try to depress that shoulder blade as it comes through. So every activity that you do with your upper extremity, you want to see if you can get that shoulder blade to move. It's going to come back and down with all the activities. And we just went over a couple of examples that you can apply to your regular everyday activities. But the more often you can practice that, the more likely it's going to be able to help you in your sport, help you in your performance, help you in your daily activities, preventing injury. One other area I want to talk about is going to be the glute activation. You know, there's a glute hamstring firing sequence. You know, ideally your glutes are going to fire before your hamstrings when you're running, walking, that sort of thing. And we can talk about in a later video about what that means and what that looks like. As you're doing something, walking, whatever, you should be able to feel that glute activate. You should be able to feel that glute trigger on command. Sometimes you can do that simply standing here and taking your leg back off to the side. And if the back pocket, okay, in that vicinity, if you feel something engage, if you feel something contract, if you feel something activate, that's great. You can move your leg in those same directions and never use your glute. There are enough other muscles around there that will help do that. The hamstring will help you, your IT band will help you. You've got a lot of different muscles that work. So as you do those different motions, be sure that's the back pocket that's doing the motion, or at least initiating the motion for those things. If you'll do those things, a lot of your inefficiencies will be diminished. It'll help your balance, it'll help your overall power and strength, and it'll obviously reduce your risk of injury. It may not reduce every injury, but it'll reduce your risk. Hope you enjoyed this video. Look forward to talking to you again soon.